You are not kind. You are addicted. Addicted to being needed. Addicted to being the one who stays when everyone else walks away. Addicted to bleeding just enough to feel valuable. You call it love. You call it loyalty. You call it having a good heart. But strip away the comforting lies, and what's left is far uglier. You are sacrificing yourself for people who would not do the same for you. Look at your life carefully. The constant exhaustion, the quiet resentment you pretend not to feel, the moments you lie awake at night, replaying conversations, wondering why they keep taking and never giving. You think you're being noble. In reality, you are training people how to destroy you, because the world does not reward sacrifice. It rewards boundaries. And Niccolo Machiavelli understood something brutal that modern society is too weak to admit. A man who tries to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin among so many who are not good. Read that again. You are trying to be light, in a world where some people feed on it. There are people in your life right now who are not looking for healing. They are not looking for growth. They are not looking to change. They are looking for someone strong enough to carry their chaos. And you volunteered. You reached out your hand, and they grabbed your arm instead. Now you're drowning with them. But here's the truth no one told you. Not everyone can be saved. And more dangerously, not everyone wants to be. Some people are committed to their destruction. Their pain is their identity. Their dysfunction is their comfort zone. And when you try to pull them out, they pull you down. This is where your illusion shatters. Because the most dangerous people in your life are not your enemies. They are the ones you feel responsible for. The ones you keep making excuses for. The ones you keep giving one more chance. The ones you believe will change if you just love them a little harder. They won't. And deep down, you already know that. But be warned. Once you see this clearly, once you recognize the patterns, the manipulation, the silent contracts you've been trapped in, you cannot go back to being that version of yourself again. The version that overgives, over-explains, overstays. Because this is not self-help. This is psychological surgery. And today, we are going to cut something out of you. The part that needs to save people to feel worthy. We are going to expose the 6 types of people you must never, under any circumstances, try to save. Not because you are cruel, but because if you don't learn this now, you will spend your entire life drowning, trying to rescue people who were never meant to swim. Let's begin the surgery. Type 1. The chaos addict. You think they're unlucky. That life just keeps hitting them over and over again. Wrong timing, bad relationships, terrible decisions, constant crises. And every time the fire starts, you run in to save them. You listen, you fix, you sacrifice your time, your energy, your sanity, trying to be the one stable thing in their unstable world. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. They are not victims of chaos. They are addicted to it. Look closely. There is always something wrong. Always a new problem. Always another disaster that wasn't their fault. And if by some miracle life becomes calm, they create a new storm. Because peace feels unfamiliar to them. Silence feels empty. Stability feels like death. So they sabotage it. Machiavelli warned against aligning yourself with the consistently unfortunate, not because fate is cruel, but because patterns don't lie. Repeated chaos is not coincidence, it is identity. These people don't just experience drama. They need it. It gives them attention. It gives them meaning. It gives them an excuse to never take responsibility. And when you step into help, you become part of their system. Not the solution, the fuel. Every time you rescue them, you reset the cycle. You clean up the mess they created, so they can go out and create another one. And slowly, without realizing it, You become just another character in their story of destruction, collateral damage. This is where most people make the fatal mistake. They believe patience will fix it. They believe love will stabilize them. They believe consistency will heal them. No, you cannot build a stable life with someone who is addicted to instability. So what is the move? You stop playing the role. You stop being the firefighter. You stop being the therapist. You stop being the emotional shock absorber. You step back and you watch. No interference. No rescue. No emotional investment. And here's what will happen. They will spiral. Not because you abandoned them, but because you removed the safety net that allowed their behavior to continue. This is the part that will break you if you're not ready, because your instinct will scream, "Help them! They need you." No, they need consequences. They need to feel the full weight of their own decisions without you softening the fall. Because only the cold teaches what comfort never will. And if they never learn, then you finally understand the most painful truth of all. You were never meant to save them, only to survive them. And if you don't learn to walk away, you won't just witness their chaos, you will become it. Type 2, the bottomless pit. They don't explode like chaos addicts. They don't create obvious disasters. They drain you. Slowly, quietly, politely, relentlessly. At first, they seem harmless. They ask for help. They seem grateful. They even praise you for being the only one who understands. And that's how it starts. You give a little, then a little more, then more than you planned. Time, energy, money, attention. And each time, you tell yourself, they just need a bit more support, then they'll be okay. But they're never okay, because this isn't a temporary need. It's a permanent condition. This is not a person who needs help. This is a person who needs dependency. Machiavelli understood a principle most people refuse to accept. The moment someone depends on you for survival, they begin to resent you for it. Because your strength exposes their weakness. Your stability reminds them of everything they are not. So instead of gratitude, they feel shame. And instead of facing that shame, they turn it into entitlement. Now your help is no longer a gift, it's an obligation. They expect it, they demand it. And when you hesitate, they punish you. Not always directly, sometimes it's subtle. A cold tone, a passive-aggressive comment, a guilt trip disguised as vulnerability. I guess I just have no one else. And just like that, you're back in, not because you want to help, but because you feel guilty not to. This is how the trap tightens. You are no longer acting out of generosity, you are acting out of emotional blackmail. And here's the most dangerous part. The more you give, the less they respect you. Because humans do not value what comes too easily. And when you keep pouring into a bottomless pit, you don't prove your worth. You erase it. So how do you expose them? Simple. You say one word. No. Not aggressively. Not emotionally. Just calmly. No. Watch what happens next. A healthy person will understand. They may be disappointed, but they adjust. A bottomless pit? They react. Anger, guilt, manipulation, withdrawal. Because you didn't just deny a request. You threatened the system. You disrupted the flow of resources they've been extracting from you. And now their true nature reveals itself. This is your moment of clarity. Not when they are asking, but when you refuse. That reaction, that's who they really are. So what is the move? You don't negotiate. You don't explain. You don't compensate. You withdraw. Gradually or instantly but decisively, because the longer you stay, the deeper you sink. And understand this clearly. You cannot fill a person who is committed to feeling empty. No amount of love will satisfy them. No amount of support will complete them. Because the void is not in their life. It is in their identity. And if you try to fill it, It will consume you too. Type 3. The smiling saboteur. They don't attack you. They don't confront you. They don't openly compete with you. They smile. They support you. At least, that's what it looks like. They're close to you. A friend, a colleague, sometimes even a partner. They listen to your plans. They nod at your ambitions. They tell you, "I'm happy for you," but something feels off. And your instincts are right, because behind that smile is something far more dangerous than hatred. Envy. Not loud envy. Not obvious jealousy. Silent envy. The kind that studies you, the kind that watches you grow, and slowly starts to resent you for it. Machiavelli understood this better than most. Enemies declare themselves, but envious allies stay close, because distance weakens their influence, proximity strengthens it, so they stay near you, not to lift you, but to subtly pull you down. Watch their behavior carefully. They don't discourage you directly, that would be too obvious. Instead, they plant seeds, small comments, barely noticeable. "Are you sure that's a good idea? That seems risky. I just don't want you to get hurt." It sounds like concern, but it's not. It's control. Because doubt is the most efficient way to slow someone down. And they don't need to stop you completely. They just need to delay you, confuse you, drain your confidence, make you hesitate at the exact moment you should move. And the worst part? You trust them. So their voice carries more weight than it should. This is how sabotage works at a high level. Not through force, through influence, through suggestion, through psychological erosion. They celebrate your small wins, but grow quiet when you get too close to something real. They laugh with you, but feel uncomfortable when you become someone they can no longer relate to, because your growth exposes their stagnation. Your discipline highlights their excuses. Your success forces them to confront a truth they are trying to avoid. They could have done more. They just didn't. And instead of rising to your level, they try to pull you back to theirs. So what do? You don't confront them. You don't accuse them, because they will deny everything and make you look paranoid. Instead, you disappear strategically. You stop sharing your plans. You stop announcing your moves. You stop giving them access to your process. You let them see the result, but never the path. Machiavelli called this concealment. Power moves in silence. Because the moment people know your direction, they can interfere with it. And people like this don't need to destroy you directly. They just need access. Access to your thoughts, access to your doubts, access to your timing. Remove that, and they lose their power. But here's the deeper truth. You cannot save someone who resents your existence. You cannot uplift someone who is emotionally invested in your failure, because their problem is not you, it's what you represent. Growth, discipline, potential, everything they abandoned in themselves. So, stop trying to bring them with you. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your evolution. Some people need to watch from a distance, and some need to be cut off entirely. Because if you keep them close, you won't just slow down. You'll start shrinking just to make them comfortable. And that is how people destroy their own future, without ever realizing who did it. Type 4. The professional victim. They don't come at you with strength. They come at you broken. Soft voice, heavy sighs, stories filled with pain, betrayal, injustice. And you feel it immediately. That pull in your chest. That instinct to protect, to fix, to step in and carry what they can't. They don't force you. They don't need to, because they know something most people don't. Pain is power, and they've mastered how to use it. At first, it feels real. Their struggles sound convincing. Their past explains their behavior. Their wounds justify their actions. So, you lean in, you listen longer, you give more, you try harder, because you believe one thing: if I just support them enough, they'll heal. But here's the truth you're not ready to accept. They don't want to heal, because healing would cost them their identity. This person is not attached to their pain. They are built on it. Their suffering is their leverage. Their weakness is their weapon. Their victimhood is their control system. Carl Jung warned about this shadow dynamic. What you refuse to take responsibility for, you project onto the world. And that's exactly what they do. Nothing is ever their fault. It's always the past, the trauma, other people, bad luck, unfair circumstances. And every time you try to offer a solution, they resist, subtly at first, then more directly. Because solutions remove excuses, and excuses are the foundation of their identity. So, instead of improving, they repeat the same problems, the same patterns, the same emotional cycles, over and over again. And you become the audience, then the supporter, then the emotional caretaker, until one day you realize you are exhausted and nothing has changed. This is where the illusion breaks, because you finally see you were never helping them. You were enabling them. Every time you comforted without accountability, you reinforced the behavior. Every time you rescued without boundaries, you strengthened the pattern. And now they don't just expect your help, they require it. So what happens when you stop? That's when you meet the real version of them. The mask drops. The helpless victim becomes something else entirely. Cold, accusing, hostile. Suddenly, you are the villain. You abandoned me. You changed. You don't care anymore. No, you just stopped playing your role. And without you, their entire system collapses. So they attack. Not because you hurt them, but because you removed their control. This is the moment most people fail, because guilt kicks in. You start questioning yourself, second-guessing your decision, thinking maybe you were too harsh. You weren't. You were just no longer useful to them. So what is the move? You detach, not emotionally reactive, not defensive, just gone. No debates, no explanations, no attempts to make them understand, because they already understand. They just don't accept, and they never will. Because accepting responsibility would destroy the identity they've spent years building. Understand this clearly. You cannot save someone who survives by staying broken, and if you keep trying, you won't heal them, you'll join them. The next type is different. They don't play weak. They don't ask for help. They think they already know everything. And that makes them even more dangerous. Type 5. The arrogant fool. They don't look broken. They don't ask for help. They don't complain. In fact, they look confident, certain, opinionated, unshakable. And that's exactly why they're dangerous. Because unlike the others, this one cannot be reached. You think they just need guidance. You think if you explain things clearly enough, show them logic, evidence, reality, they'll change. They won't. Because this is not ignorance. This is ego. Machiavelli understood a brutal limitation of human nature. A man who is not wise cannot be advised. Let that sink in. You are trying to pour truth into a mind that has already decided it is full. And the more you try, the more they resist. Because to accept your perspective, they would have to admit they were wrong. And for them, that is unacceptable, so they defend, not with logic, but with certainty. They talk over you. They dismiss your points. They twist the conversation, not to find truth, but to protect identity. Because their identity is built on being right, not growing, not evolving, not learning, just being right. And here's where most people fall into the trap. You engage, you argue, you explain, you try to wake them up, but all you're doing is feeding their system. Because every argument gives them attention. Every explanation gives them relevance. Every reaction proves they have control over your energy. And they love that. Not consciously, but psychologically, because control feels like power. Even if it's built on delusion, Carl Jung described this perfectly. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And that's what you're dealing with. A person who would rather stay wrong than feel small. So what happens over time? You get drained. Not because they're asking for help, but because they're forcing you into a cycle. Debate, frustration, repetition, exhaustion. Nothing changes. Nothing evolves. Nothing moves forward. Because you cannot move forward with someone who is standing still by choice. And this is the hardest truth to accept. You cannot save someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. You cannot elevate someone who is addicted to their own perspective. Because they are not searching for truth. They are defending territory. So what is the move? Silence. Not passive silence. Not defeated silence. Strategic silence. You stop correcting them. You stop engaging. You stop explaining. You let them talk. And you walk away. Because reality will teach them what you never could. Consequences will do what logic failed to do. Time will expose what ego tried to hide. And when that happens, you won't be there to say, "I told you so," because by then, you're already gone. Understand this. Not every mind is worth entering. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every person is worth saving. Some people must be left alone with their illusions. Because that is the only place they might one day break free, or not. And that's not your problem. The next one is the most dangerous of all. Because this time, you already know who they are. You've seen the pattern, you've felt the damage. And yet, you keep letting them back in. Type 6, the scorpion. You already know this one. Not because someone warned you, but because you've lived it. The lies, the betrayal, the broken promises, the apologies that sounded real, until the cycle repeated again, and again, and again. You didn't ignore the signs, you saw them, but you told yourself, they've changed. This time is different. They didn't mean it. No, they meant it every time. You just didn't want to accept it. There's an old fable Machiavelli would agree with. The scorpion asks the frog to carry it across the river. The frog hesitates. "You'll sting me." The scorpion replies, "Why would I? We'd both drown." Halfway across, the scorpion stings. As they both sink, the frog asks, "Why?" And the scorpion answers, "It's my nature." This is the person you keep trying to save. Not broken, not confused, not lost. Consistent. Their pattern is not a mistake. It is a signature. Machiavelli warned that men rarely change their nature, and if they do, it is only when the cost of staying the same becomes unbearable. But you made sure it never did. Every time they hurt you, you forgave them. Every time they crossed the line, you redrew it further back. Every time they betrayed you, you explained it away. You didn't just tolerate the behavior, you trained it. You taught them, no matter what you do, I will stay. And once someone learns that, they stop respecting you completely, because boundaries are the only thing that make behavior costly. And you removed the cost, so they kept going. This is where the illusion dies. You were never trying to save them. You were trying to prove something to yourself, that your love is strong enough, that your patience is deep enough, that your loyalty can change someone's nature. It can't, because you are not fighting behavior. You are fighting identity, and identity does not negotiate. So what is the move? Not distance, not a break. Not, let's see how it goes. Amputation. Clean. Final. Irreversible. No contact. No access. No second chances disguised as closure. Because every time you reopen the door, you restart the cycle, and this time it will be worse. Not because they changed, but because now they know how much you will tolerate. This is the hardest cut you will ever make, because it feels like loss. But it's not. It's removal. Removal of poison. Removal of illusion. Removal of a pattern that was slowly destroying you. Understand this clearly. You are not abandoning them. You are finally choosing yourself. And if you don't, then don't call it betrayal when it happens again. Call it what it really is. A decision. Your decision. To stay, where you already knew how the story ends. If this opened your eyes, understand this. Most people will hear everything you just heard and do absolutely nothing with it. They'll nod. They'll agree. They'll even feel a temporary sense of clarity. And then they'll go right back to the same people, the same patterns, the same self-destruction. Because awareness is uncomfortable. And real change, it's violent. It requires you to cut ties, to disappoint people, to walk away without explaining yourself. Most people don't want that. They would rather stay trapped than face the consequences of becoming free. So don't confuse information with transformation. What you've just seen is not meant to comfort you. It's meant to confront you. Because once you truly understand how these dynamics work, you lose the ability to pretend. You see manipulation where you once saw misunderstanding. You see patterns where you once saw bad luck. You see reality without the filter. And that changes you, quietly, permanently. The way you speak changes. The way you tolerate things changes. The way people respond to you changes. Some will respect you more. Others will disappear. Not because you pushed them away, but because you stopped being useful to them. That's the part no one prepares you for. Growth isolates. Clarity isolates. Power isolates. And if you're not ready for that, you will go back. Must do. But if you're still here, if something in you recognizes this, not as entertainment, but as truth, then you're already different. You've already started separating yourself from the version of you that needed validation, that overgave, that stayed too long. Now the only question is, do you follow through, or do you retreat back into comfort? Because from this point forward, you don't get to say, I didn't know. Now you know. And knowing creates responsibility. So, if you're going to stay on this path, stay consciously, not casually. Don't just watch. Observe your life, your patterns, your relationships, and start cutting what needs to be cut, silently, cleanly, without announcement. If you're ready to keep sharpening your awareness, stay close. Not because you're told to, but because you've realized something most people never will. The game was always happening. You just couldn't see it. Until now. Most people will go back to sleep. You won't. I'll see you in the dark.